Black queens who ruled empires before Europe, long before Europe rose to power. Before castles were built and crowns were forged across the West, there were black empires, vast, wealthy, and advanced. At the heart of many of them stood powerful queens, women who ruled with brilliance, strategy, and unshakable power. These women commanded armies, influenced politics, and built legacies that extended far beyond the borders of Africa. They were rulers, warriors, diplomats, mothers of nations. Yet their names are never mentioned. An important question is, why are these names not taught in schools? Why does history make it seem like black greatness only began after struggle? If you find yourself with these unanswered questions, sit back and watch this video to the end, because today we are setting the record straight. As we do that, please support us by hitting the thumbs up button, sharing, and subscribing. We are reclaiming the powerful narratives history tried to erase. So before you crown another European monarch in your mind, meet the queens who wore it first. Amanirenas of Kush. Between 25 and 21 BC, Queen Amanirenas, a fierce Kandake of the kingdom of Kush, achieved what many male rulers of her era could not. She successfully resisted and pushed back a Roman invasion, boldly defending her empire against one of the most powerful forces of the ancient world. Under Queen Amanirenas' command, some 30,000 soldiers from the ancient kingdom of Kush, in what is now Sudan, took to arms and fought back Roman invaders who had advanced from Egypt. The Romans had encroached on the fertile lands below Egypt known as Nubia, and they enforced high taxation on the people of Meroe, the capital of Kush. Amanirenas strategically rallied her army during a temporary withdrawal of Roman troops for a campaign in Arabia. Her forces managed to capture the Roman-occupied cities of Aswan, Philae, and Elephantine. The Kush forces plundered the cities and enslaved Romans, before retreating to El Dake, where the first skirmishes of the 4-year Meroitic Roman War began. The Meroitic Roman War stands out as a key juncture in both Nubian and Roman history. The Roman army ultimately dominated the fighting, yet they ended up granting concessions to the Mero kingdom that weakened Rome's political and economic standing and validated Mero sovereignty. While Amanirenas may have been unique in her military success against Rome, her role as Kandake, or female ruler, was not unusual in the region at the time. For more than 3,000 years, 3 Kushite kingdoms, Kerma, Napata, and Meroe, ruled the Middle Nile Valley of Nubia, and for long periods of that rule, women were in charge. A long line of Kandake ruled at the same time as the formidable empires of Rome and Greece. Amanirenas herself ruled during the reign of Cleopatra in Egypt and Mark Antony in Rome, until they were deposed in 30 BC by Augustus Caesar. After Amanirenas, Amanishaketo and Amanitore inherited her powerful legacy in protecting Lower Nubia from the Romans. Amanirenas' ascension to the throne began with the death of her husband Teritekes in late 25 BC, 5 years into the Roman occupation of Lower Nubia. Previously, Amanirenas' kingdom had profited by trading gold and other riches with Egypt, but the political landscape changed when Roman forces under Augustus seized control of Egypt from Mark Antony and Cleopatra. On assuming leadership of the kingdom, Amanirenas planned and carried out attacks on occupying Roman forces. While Strabo's account casts the Romans in a victorious light, the outcome of the war suggests otherwise. By the beginning of 21 BC, both armies were exhausted. Amanirenas sent emissaries to Samos to negotiate with Augustus. He granted Amanirenas 2 important concessions. The first was the cancellation of the tax on Meroe. The second was that Roman occupation would withdraw from the Second Cataract near Gemai to Maharaka, almost back on the border of Egypt. While the details of this treaty are unclear, evidence suggests that Amanirenas' resistance led to gains for her kingdom, despite many military losses. Lower Nubia had been a highly contested area long before the Roman and Greek occupations of Egypt. Nubian and Egyptian kingdoms had expanded and contracted over centuries as they fought for control of precious metals, animals, and slaves in the area. The re-establishment of Meroe dominance in Lower Nubia indicates a successful outcome for the Kingdom of Meroe. Although the kingdoms of Kush would eventually weaken and become absorbed into the Roman world, Amanirenas' gains against Roman forces sealed her legacy as one of the rare historical figures who resisted Roman rule. Makeda, Queen of Sheba of Ethiopia. The Queen of Sheba is one of those great historical figures in Africa. Unnamed in most accounts, this mysterious female monarch is described in numerous holy books as a wealthy and wise woman who ruled without a king. Stories about the Queen of Sheba have persisted across North Africa and West Asia, winding into dozens of apocryphal and fantastic accounts. This has made her one of the most intriguing figures for historians who have tried to track her through the millennia. She is widely known through her brief but memorable appearances in the Hebrew Bible and in the Quran. She has been celebrated in story and song throughout Europe and the Middle East. It is, however, Ethiopian tradition that has most expanded the legend of this mysterious and elusive figure. According to Ethiopian history, she ruled wisely at a time and in a place where women were hereditary rulers, until she broke the custom by relinquishing her throne to her son Menelik I, also called Baina Lechem, and David II. Menelik is believed to have been begotten by the renowned biblical Israelite king Solomon. Though she is given no personal name in either the Bible or the Quran, Islamic oral tradition calls her Bilqis or Balkis, while Josephus, a Jewish Roman historian of the 1st century CE, identifies her as Nikaule in his Jewish antiquities. Among the Ethiopian people, to whom she means the most, she is known as Makeda. In the New Testament, Jesus refers to her as the Queen of the South. In the 6th year of her reign, she learned from her chief trader about the existence of a remarkably well-governed kingdom named Israel, and resolved to visit its king to observe his leadership methods. Her caravan journey took approximately 10 months, traversing the rugged Ethiopian mountains, crossing the Red Sea, and passing through the sands of Arabia. The queen arrived in a massive caravan, laden with precious stones, gems, and large quantities of gold. She journeyed there with 800 camels, mules, and donkeys. She arrived bearing gifts of precious stones, amber, rare woods, myrrh, 120 talents of gold and silver, and large quantities of exotic spices. King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba exchanged many expensive gifts, and she tested his wisdom with difficult and complicated riddles, to which he answered impressively. The account of her visit at Solomon's court appears in 1 Kings 10, verses 1 to 14, and a similar account appears in 2 Chronicles 9, verses 1 to 12. The passage states, "When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. She arrived at Jerusalem with a very great caravan, camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones. She came to Solomon and spoke with him about everything on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon and the palace he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. She said to the king, 'The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw them with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told to me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard.' After 6 months of study and observation, she concluded that his success as a ruler stemmed from the affection and respect he inspired, his well-organized system of governance, and his fairness and humility. Ultimately, he persuaded her that Ethiopia should abandon the worship of the sun and instead embrace the worship of God, the creator of the universe. As Queen Makeda prepared to depart, it occurred to Solomon that he could actually beget a child from this beautiful woman. He hinted at having one final lesson in the art of governance to teach her. That day, he provided a great banquet, had her food liberally peppered and her drinks mingled with vinegar, then suggested she should spend the night. Makeda said, "Promise you will not take me by force." Solomon swore by God that he would not, on the condition that she, in turn, vowed not to take anything that belonged to him. During the night, overwhelmed by thirst, Makeda drank from a goblet of water placed beside her bed. From his hidden watch, Solomon saw her drink and immediately declared that she had broken the agreement, that she had taken something of his, and by that claim, he asserted his right to her. On her journey back to Ethiopia, 9 months and 5 days after leaving Jerusalem, the queen gave birth to a son whom she named Bina Lekem, meaning son of the wise man. Despite the cultural expectation that a queen remain a virgin to rule, Makeda retained her throne and continued to govern. When Bina Lekem turned 22, he insisted on meeting his father. Before his departure to Jerusalem, his mother Makeda reminded him of the promise she had made to Solomon, that though Ethiopian law allowed only a woman to rule, she had agreed that a male descendant of Solomon would reign. She pledged to abdicate the throne upon her son's return. Upon his arrival, Solomon was deeply impressed by the man Bina Lekem had become, and he tried to persuade him to stay in Jerusalem. However, the young man respectfully declined, honoring the promise he had made to his mother to return to her and not marry any woman in Jerusalem. He journeyed back to Ethiopia, where he assumed the throne under the name Menelik I. He did not return alone. With him were the eldest sons of Israel's nobles, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Ethiopian history. One of them delivered an oration praising the favorable climate and agricultural richness they had found in Ethiopia, and then paid a handsome tribute to its female monarch, saying, "Thy wisdom is good, and it surpasseth the wisdom of men. None can be compared with thee in intelligence. The understanding of thy heart is deeper than that of men, and thy wisdom exceeds Solomon, in that thou hast been able to draw hither the mighty men of Israel." The Ethiopians believe that these elder sons who accompanied their prince brought from Jerusalem the original Ark of the Covenant, and this treasure is symbolized by a square oblong box kept in every Ethiopian Orthodox church. Scholars and historians are fascinated with the variations of the legend throughout the Middle East and Africa, with its psychological implications for the interpretation of Ethiopian culture. Artists and musicians for centuries have been inspired by its dramatic content. Ordinary people use the expression Queen of Sheba as a symbol for sexuality, elegance, and pride. In Addis Ababa, the legend is depicted in street-sold paintings that add elements not in the Kebra Negast, and follow a version told in northern Ethiopia. In that version, a tyrannical dragon serpent is killed by Agabus, whose daughter Makeda succeeds him. The trip to Jerusalem proceeds, but on the fateful night Solomon also sleeps with Makeda's maidservant, who also gives birth to a son whose descendants, the Zazzau, usurped the throne between 1137 and 1270, after which the Solomonic dynasty of Makeda is restored. Although the Kebra Nagast was not committed to writing until the early 14th century, some historians view the entire narrative as a political tool used to justify the restoration of the Solomonic dynasty. However, the broader consensus among both Ethiopian and foreign scholars is that the text represents much more than political propaganda. It is a profound expression of national identity and religious sentiment. Either way, she was still an African, a renowned queen in Ethiopian history. According to Ethiopian tradition, Makeda, the queen of Sheba, ruled the kingdom of Sheba around the 10th century BC. She is believed to have had a son, Menelik III, with King Solomon of Jerusalem. This union is said to have established the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia, a royal line that, with a few interruptions, continued to rule until the deposition of Emperor Haile Selassie in 1974. Her story is part of the national epic of Ethiopia, as recounted in the Kebra Nagast, translated into English as The Glory of Kings. This historic and sacred text weaves together Arabic and Jewish legends with indigenous Ethiopian traditions, preserving the legacy of Queen Makeda and her significant role in the nation's royal and spiritual heritage. Her name and the location of her kingdom are vague to historians, but in Ethiopia her name means "not thus," as when she announced, "Not thus is it good to worship the sun, but it is right to worship God." Her city was Dabra Makeda, built at her order as the capital of Ethiopia. Queen Amina of Zazzau was a Hausa Muslim and a historical ruler of the city-state Zazzau, in what is now the city of Zaria in Kaduna State, in northwest Nigeria. She is commonly known as the Warrior Queen. She was the first woman to become Sarauniya, which means queen, in a male-dominated society during her reign from 1576 to 1610. She expanded the territory of the Hausa people of North Africa to its largest borders in history. The expansion of Amina's kingdom made it the trading center for all southern Hausaland, spanning the traditional east to west trans-Saharan axis and guaranteeing Zaria's prosperity. Amina brought unheard-of wealth to the land. She boosted her kingdom's wealth and power with gold, slaves, and new crops. Because her people were talented metal workers, Amina introduced metal armor to her army, including iron helmets and chainmail. The modern state of Nigeria has immortalized Amina with a statue of her, spear in hand, on a horse, in the center of Lagos. Although systematic deprivation reigned and women's autonomous control was limited, a successful ruler such as Amina created a lasting impact that many interactional feminists recognize as momentous for history across northern Africa. Even within a technologically infused society, women, specifically Black women, face inequalities online and in the virtual world, shaped by cultural and societal expectations. The legacy of earlier successful queens who conquered lands and led peoples serves as an allegorical and symbolic beacon of opportunity. Queen Amina of Zaria eventually died 34 years later, and she is remembered as a brave, smart, and talented leader. In honor of her accomplishments, a statue of her was built and placed in the National Arts Theatre in Nigeria, and many educational institutions still bear her name today. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. Queen Nzinga Mbande stands as one of the most extraordinary monarchs in African history, renowned for her intelligence, political and diplomatic wisdom, and unmatched bravery in the face of the Portuguese colonial onslaught in the 17th century. Her life story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of resistance against oppression and the fight for sovereignty and freedom by African peoples. She was born around 1583 to Ngola Kilwanji and Kangela. Nzinga was thrust into an era of turmoil as the Portuguese intensified their colonial expansion, disrupting the social, political, and economic fabric of her homeland. Her upbringing in the royal family of Ndongo in present-day Angola imbued her with a keen understanding of statecraft and military tactics, which would later define her rule. Her brother, Ngola Mbandi, the king of Ndongo, faced relentless pressure from Portuguese forces aiming to dominate the slave trade. The kingdom's strategic location made it a prime target for colonial exploitation. Nzinga's early involvement in diplomatic missions showcased her exceptional skills in negotiation and her deep commitment to her people's welfare. In 1622, Nzinga emerged on the international stage during a crucial meeting with João Correia de Sousa, the Portuguese governor. She sought to negotiate the freedom of her captured people and secure the sovereignty of Ndongo. In an era when African leaders were often demeaned by European colonizers, Nzinga refused to accept a subservient position. She chose instead to sit on the back of one of her attendants rather than on the floor, a powerful act of defiance. This encounter epitomized her refusal to be diminished by colonial powers and marked the beginning of her legendary resistance. Following her brother's death under mysterious circumstances, Nzinga assumed the throne of Ndongo in 1624, becoming one of the few female rulers in African history. She took on the title of Ngola, a term traditionally reserved for male leaders, and embarked on a strategic campaign to liberate her kingdom from Portuguese control. Nzinga's reign was characterized by her adept use of diplomacy and military tactics. Understanding the importance of alliances, she sought support from other African states and even European powers opposed to Portugal. Her conversion to Christianity and strategic marriage alliances were part of her diplomatic efforts to build a coalition against the Portuguese. Queen Nzinga is perhaps best known for her military acumen. She trained her army in the art of guerrilla warfare, conducting hit-and-run attacks on Portuguese settlements and supply lines, which severely disrupted their operations. Her leadership inspired other African leaders to resist European colonization, making her a symbol of Pan-African resistance. Nzinga also provided sanctuary to runaway slaves and soldiers, which not only weakened Portuguese economic interests but also strengthened her own forces. Her capital, Matamba, became a refuge for those fleeing the brutality of slavery, embodying her vision of a sovereign and united African resistance against colonialism. After decades of resistance, Nzinga's later years continued to be characterized by her unwavering efforts to secure the sovereignty and freedom of her kingdoms. Despite her fierce opposition, the Portuguese continued to exert pressure on her territories, seeking to expand their colonial holdings and control the lucrative slave trade. Nzinga responded with strategic alliances, both with neighboring African states and with European rivals of Portugal, while also strengthening her military defenses and governance structures. Throughout her life, Nzinga was known not only for her military tactics, but also for her diplomatic skills and intelligence. She engaged in negotiations with the Portuguese and other European powers, seeking to play them against each other to the advantage of her people. She also provided sanctuary to runaway slaves and those affected by the slave trade, undermining Portuguese efforts to capture slaves in the region. Nzinga converted to Christianity, a strategic move she hoped would gain her the support of European Christian allies against the Portuguese. She adopted the Christian name Ana de Sousa in honor of her godparents, the Portuguese governor João Correia de Sousa and his wife. Her Christian faith did not deter her commitment to fighting Portuguese influence. Despite her relentless efforts, the Portuguese gradually increased their control over the region. Yet Nzinga's resistance led to her becoming a symbol of defiance and resilience, inspiring her people to continue the fight against colonial oppression. Queen Nzinga Mbande eventually passed away in 1663 at the age of 80 or 81, marking the end of a remarkable era. Her death may have closed a chapter, but her legacy endured through history. She is remembered as a masterful negotiator, a fearless warrior, and a visionary leader who relentlessly fought to protect the autonomy, freedom, and dignity of her people. Yaa Asantewaa, Queen Mother of the Ashanti Empire, present-day Ghana. The Ashanti Empire, also known as the Asante Empire, was a powerful pre-colonial West African state that emerged in the late 17th century in what is now southern Ghana. It was founded by Osei Tutu, a military leader from the Oyoko clan. He was the first Ashantehene, the king, who unified several Akan chiefdoms into a centralized kingdom around the city of Kumasi. The empire was renowned for craftsmanship, particularly goldsmithing, weaving, notably kente cloth, and wood carving. Specialized villages developed around these crafts, contributing to local economies and cultural identity. It was also characterized by successful trade, military conquests, and a complex political structure. Discussions about the Ashanti Empire cannot be complete without the formidable personality of Yaa Asantewaa. She was born around 1840 in Besease, in present-day Ghana. To this day, Asantewaa is celebrated as a warrior queen and a symbol of resistance against British colonialism. Her legend is embedded in Ghanaian history, most especially for her role in the War of the Golden Stool in 1900, a pivotal conflict that marked the climax of the Ashanti resistance against British imperial rule. Yaa Asantewaa was born to Kwaku Ampoma and Atapo in a society where matrilineal inheritance was the norm. She was the eldest of 2 children. While growing up in the Ashanti Confederacy, she experienced a relatively peaceful childhood, engaging in agriculture and contributing to her family's farming activities in Bwankra. Her upbringing instilled a strong sense of duty and resilience that would later define her leadership during tumultuous times. She later married into a polygamous family and had 1 daughter. Her family connections and her status as Queen Mother of Ejisu positioned her as a significant political figure within the Ashanti hierarchy. The role of the Queen Mother in Ashanti culture is very important. It involves not only ceremonial duties, but also significant political influence, particularly as the gatekeeper of the Golden Stool, a sacred symbol of Ashanti unity and power. The late 19th century was unstable for the Ashanti Confederacy. It was characterized by internal strife and external pressures from British colonial forces. The Civil War from 1883 to 1888 weakened the Ashanti state, leading to increased British encroachment on their territory. After the death of her brother in 1894, Yaa Asantewaa exercised her rights as Queen Mother to nominate her grandson as chief. The British exiled him in 1896, along with King Prempeh I and other leaders, leaving Asantewaa as regent of the Ejisu-Juaben district. Soon after, the British demanded the Golden Stool, which further ignited tensions among the Ashanti. Osei Tutu's rule was legitimized by the creation of the Golden Stool, which symbolizes the unity and identity of the Ashanti people. The sacred object is believed to contain the spirit of the Ashanti nation and is treated with great reverence. Governor Frederick Hodgson's insistence on possessing this emblematic artifact was seen as an affront to Ashanti sovereignty and identity. That demand catalyzed Yaa Asantewaa's resolve to lead her people in resistance against colonial rule. In March 1900, Yaa Asantewaa rallied the chiefs and warriors of Ashanti at a critical meeting. She delivered an impassioned speech that would resonate through history. She famously declared that if men would not fight for their freedom, then women would take up arms. This declaration not only galvanized male warriors, but also challenged traditional gender roles within Ashanti society. As commander-in-chief of the Ashanti forces, an unexpected role for a woman, Yaa Asantewaa led approximately 5,000 troops into battle against British forces. The conflict began with an assault on British positions in Kumasi, and quickly escalated into a full-scale rebellion known as the Yaa Asantewaa War, or the War of the Golden Stool. Over several months, fierce battles ensued, resulting in significant casualties on both sides. Estimates suggest that around 1,000 British and Allied African soldiers died, alongside approximately 2,000 Ashanti warriors. Despite initial successes, including laying siege to Kumasi Fort, where British troops were holed up, Yaa Asantewaa's forces ultimately faced overwhelming military might. By late 1900, she was captured along with several advisors after months of fighting. Following her capture in November 1900, Yaa Asantewaa was exiled to Seychelles in 1901, along with other leaders. During her exile, she converted to Christianity and was baptized in 1904. She remained there until her death on October 17, 1921. Yaa Asantewa's legacy goes beyond her military endeavors. She is respected not only as a warrior queen, but also as an advocate for women's empowerment within a patriarchal society. Her leadership during the war is an inspiration to generations of Ghanaians and Africans alike to challenge oppression and fight for justice. In Ghana today, Yaa Asantewaa is celebrated through literary works and cultural narratives that honor her bravery and commitment to her people. Queen Taytu Betul of Ethiopia was a formidable empress who fought colonization and masterminded Ethiopia's crushing victory over Italy. She reigned for 14 years, led troops in memorable battles, negotiated peace treaties, and founded Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's modern capital. She contributed significantly to Ethiopia's reputation as the only African nation never colonized. Born in Simian Province in 1851, during a period of rapid change in Ethiopia, Taytu came from an aristocratic family descended from the Solomonic dynasty. Her name means sun or sunshine. Her father, Ras Betul Haile Mariam, was a warrior and a member of Simian's ruling family, directly descended from Emperor Susenyos I. As a noblewoman, she was married at age 10 to an officer in Emperor Tewodros II's army, which was common at the time. Oral history suggests she underwent genital mutilation at 3 months old, a likely cause of her infertility. She married 3 more times, each marriage unhappy, one ending because of abuse, and another ending in a favorable divorce. Multiple marriages were common for Ethiopian women then. In April 1883, after 4 failed marriages, she married her 5th husband, the king of Sheba, who became Menelik II. This made her his 3rd wife and Empress of Ethiopia. Despite her inability to bear children, she was ideal as a consort because of her wealth, property, and legitimate ancestry. Their wedding was a full communion service, rendering it canonical and irreversible. Their union was political, forming alliances with northern regions and expanding southern territories. The Empress was devoted yet shared equal status with her husband. Highly intelligent, she was a valuable advisor whom Menelik consulted before decisions. She played significant roles in administrative, political, military, and foreign affairs. Menelik frequently avoided unpopular positions by saying, "Ishi nega," which meant yes, tomorrow, while Taytu emphatically stated imbai, meaning no. Thus, Menelik became the beloved monarch, while Taytu became the most powerful and also the most despised woman. Empress Taytu was also a military strategist instrumental in orchestrating Italy's downfall. The emperor signed the Treaty of Wuchale in 1889, establishing a partnership, but the Italian version and the Amharic version differed. Italy's version claimed Ethiopia was a protectorate, while the Amharic version stated this was only a matter for future discussion. When Taytu discovered the difference, she tore the treaty in half. Italy had colonized neighboring Eritrea and most of Somalia. She convinced the emperor to declare war when Italy attempted to colonize Ethiopia. Empress Taytu led 5,000 infantry and 600 cavalry against the Italians. Her battalion included female warriors escorted by men carrying red parasols for sun protection. She fought valiantly on the front lines, inspiring wavering soldiers. During the battle at Makeda, she recommended cutting off the Italians' water supply to dehydrate them and dislodge them from fortified positions on Ndeyesu's hill. The Empress analyzed all intelligence from her spies, which historians say was critical to Ethiopia's victory. Menelik used that information to attack at Adwa rather than at Adigrat, near the Eritrean border, where the Italians expected a logistical advantage from their military base. The Italians surrendered due to their disadvantage and lack of water. Ethiopia won decisively, gaining a reputation as Africa's sole unsubdued nation. Years later, Menelik's health deteriorated after a stroke, and he died in 1913. The Empress assumed increased responsibility, but Ethiopian elites and members of the royal family sought to depose her, claiming she had grown too powerful. After a bitter struggle, she resigned, and she lived quietly until dying of heart failure on February 11, 1918. And there you have it, 6 powerful black queens who ruled empires long before Europe's rise to global dominance. These women weren't just figureheads, they were strategists, warriors, and visionaries who shaped the course of history. Their stories remind us that Africa's legacy is not one of weakness or silence, but of leadership, brilliance, and unmatched strength. As we continue to reclaim our history and rewrite the narrative, remember, these aren't just forgotten names of the past. They are pillars of power and proof that Black excellence is ancient, global, and unstoppable. Thanks for being with us to the end of this video. If this message resonates with you, hit that like button, share this video far and wide, and subscribe for more content that tells the truth about our past and fights for a better future. Once again, thanks for watching. See you in our next video.